So how do you guys schedule time to play or do your side hustles? How do you schedule this?
Mhm.
How do you fit it
We
in?
so the first thing that actually we schedule when we're planning our week is alone time. Like that is like the first thing that we do over anything is we make sure that each of us has time each week to like either work on their side hustle or really just like take care of ourselves. So I find that when we prioritize taking care of ourselves like as a person, then it's easier to kind of find time to pursue these like side hustles and to do work.
The Perspective Podcast is fuel for your mind and creative grind. Each week, my guests and I provide the skills for thinking bigger, overcoming adversity, and making an impact with your work.
PC family, I'm kicking it here with Thunder and Lightning business duo of Danielle and Steve Wolf of Steve Wolf Designs. Welcome to the Perspective Podcast, you guys. How you doing today?
That's good. We're doing good. Thanks for having us. We're excited.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes. All right. Well, let's just dive into the meat because, fun fact, I forgot to record in the first time. You keep it raw here, we keep it open and transparent. So we're diving right into the mix to respect their time. Let's give us a brief Wikipedia page summary about yourselves. And Danielle, ladies first.
Hi, everyone. My name is Danielle. I'm Steve's wife and the person kind of behind the scenes on the business side of things here at Steve Wolf Designs. I grew up in California and went to college in Nebraska, which is where Steve and I met. I actually got my degree in chemistry. Yeah, and went to grad school for chemistry as well before I decided that it wasn't my thing. Got into business development, which is what kind of made the switch to working with Steve so easy.
Yes, definitely. Very helpful, by the way. We'll get into more of that later. But yes, I'm Steve, born and raised in Kearney, Nebraska, next to Scotty up there in Iowa.
Yeah.
It's a good place to be. Got my degree in graphic design up there at the University of Nebraska at Kearney, and got my first design job in Dallas, Texas. I was actually designing baseball, football, basketball, hockey trading cards.
What was the brand?
So it was Panini America.
Nice. I was a hardcore collector. I know exactly what Panini is. So
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, awesome job right out of college. I mean, I was just living the dream there in Dallas. And I worked there for about 4 years. Became an art director there. Loved the job, but I was kind of itching for something more, and wanted to change. And heard a lot about Austin, Texas, and there was actually a design position open at an ad agency down there called GSD&M. Applied, got the job, and we found ourselves moving to Austin, Texas. Worked there for about 4 or 5 years and was doing freelance on the side during that time. And it kind of got to a point where, I had to make a decision. Am I going to work for the agency full time? Am I going to do freelance? Because I just couldn't do both because they were getting both pretty big at that time. And chose to kind of go off on my own. And in 2018, it was a really big year for us. We both quit our jobs. We made Steve Wolf Designs a full-time job. We both turned 30. We had a kid and we bought a house all in the same year. And then from there on, we're just we've been doing our own thing ourselves. So
damn. So you only took it full-time freelance in 2018?
that's correct. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Some people.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of people don't know. I was very fortunate to my full-time job at the ad agency was very flexible, and it was kind of cool that they actually encouraged people to take on freelance work, which was great because I know a lot of companies don't really do that. So I was fortunate in that aspect. And we always joke maybe we did wait too long to go on our own, but I think our goal was, we had goals with what we wanted to do for our full-time business. I know even Danielle could speak more on that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, Sky, do you want to go ahead and?
Well, I want to plant a little seed about later because you guys hustled your ass off. You went against the grain with the fire culture. Something else I've never really talked about this show, and I've talked to you because it was really inspiring how you grinded your asses off to like pay off debt, save up money to retire early, financially independent, retire early. That's what FIRE stands for those who don't know. You know, you don't have to go into debt to create the life you want and live within your means. And I think you guys are a shining example of that. And that's something like a switch that Emily and I had this year, and we've been grinding towards that. And it's just been super inspiring. You two have been like someone we've really looked up to in that sense. So in terms of growth then, like Danielle, what were you doing behind the scenes before you jumped on board? And I want to talk about this dynamic because a lot of people in our audience, listeners, they want to learn how to turn on the business switch. They're ready to not only take their side hobby to a side hustle, but how do you then take the next step and transform that side hustle into a side business? So Steve, where did the business chops come from you? And like, where were you struggling at without like representation and this and that? And then Danielle, what were you doing before? And when were you just like, yo, Steve, let me do this. All right. You should just work for me and I'm your manager now.
Yeah, like I feel like very distinctly, it all started back when we first got married back in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Steve had his like little office in his room. It was like it was like smaller than this.
In my bedroom, yeah.
And I remember he was working on a project. And I remember he had just shared with me how he had gotten burned by a couple clients that weren't paying him. And I suggestion, well, did you have a contract in place? And he's like, no, well, I didn't. I was like, well, maybe like that should be the first step. So next time you have some terms in place. And at the time he was still like using a personal email instead of like a business email. And so I was like, maybe you should like keep personal and business separate. And so it was like little things like that he hadn't thought of because he was so focused on creating. Like, I think that's what makes Steve such a great designer. Like, he focuses on what he's good at, which is the design.
Play to your strengths.
Right.
If I got to interrupt you, you just did 2 tips right out of the gates of how to start taking yourself more seriously. Keeping business separate, using a professional email like that automatically, instead of replying to people through a Gmail account. Like, can you rephrase 2 tips right there? Like, you're already dropping value.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, and like, yeah, exactly what she said. I was just designing, like, I didn't really know or even consider to like really dig into like the business aspect of what it meant to freelancing. You know, when you're getting paid to do work, that's a little bit more than just creating the work. And when Danielle kind of came in and helped me, she really shed the light on and opened my eyes about what I would need to do to get better at what I wanted to do. So I'm always very grateful that she was kind of there to kind of help me in that regard.
Because we just want to create. Like, that's the hardest thing for me too, is like, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that I do. I'm to the point where I've been able to delegate a lot of stuff, but still, you know, that's one of the main reasons I wasn't enjoying freelance was all the hats I had to wear.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, and I know that that's Danielle's, you know, she's still helping me to this day. And I think that's really what helped us grow our business maybe a little bit quicker that way. So,
Danielle, what were you doing beforehand, before you went full time with this?
So I actually worked as a business development manager for an executive like firm to hire accounting and finance executives. But even before that, I was in other sales positions. So I feel like my background in sales really helped the business, you know, with the close relationships that you have to have with clients and the networking. So I'm a people person. I'm an extrovert, whereas Steve is very introverted. And honestly, if he didn't have to talk to anyone, I think he'd be totally.
I do
Mr.
like
Hermit.
He is very social in the right setting, yes. But I think when it came down to business, like I said, he really just wanted to focus on creating. And for me, I love talking to people and trying to figure out like what their problems were and how we could come up with solutions. So I feel like it just we were able to play to our strengths.
Definitely.
Natural fit for sure. Like, you are so prompt and concise in your emails and your follow-ups. I'm like, damn, I need a Danielle for my business too.
She has, how buttoned up she is on organization, like seeing every detail through that maybe like I know for a fact that I would just overlook, like how much value that adds like for a client who's wanting to work with you, you know, because that's the language that they speak, is wanting to talk to somebody that's very, very professional and like stuff like that. So
totally, you're definitely like you're definitely portraying it as a premium service. You're not only getting the dopest high-end polished work, but you know, you're getting the rapport and the client relationships. Like, that's the little things that are not scalable.
exactly.
You know?
And a lot of that has actually led us to clients that we work long term with. And I think it's from that initial experience that they've had with us that they want to continue to work with us.
So I want to talk about then, how do you get clients? I'm always asked, how do you attract clients? Well, do the kind of work you want, yada, yada, this, and that, whatever. And you guys told me something on the side of this, that you don't really work on attracting clients or requests for projects or anything. So like, give me kind of the background. Is it all just retainer projects? Like, or is it like an art director hitting you up? I know for like the Target project, or like, kind of give us the scoop, because this is a different world that you're living in right now that I don't think people know exists for freelancing. I think it's really going to blow their minds and kind of open some insight from a different angle or a different perspective.
Yeah, like I feel like, Steve, you can start with like how we first started, because it's how we got clients in the beginning is different to how we get clients now.
Ooh, talk about both.
Yeah, so way back in the day, when we were first starting out, I made it a point to really put my work out there in as many different ways and areas as I could find.
Like platforms, like social media?
Yeah, for example, and I think this was back in 2013. It's funny, I was actually using Pinterest of all things.
Oh, you were the early Pinterest.
Yeah, and at the time, like, Pinterest was not popular at all. Like, actually, I mean, it was like really just coming out. And because I was using Pinterest when this platform first came out, I was actually able to amass a pretty big following because I was just pinning consistently. And I was actually just pinning like design inspiration just to collect it.
Just curation stuff.
Yeah, it was just like graphic design examples that this is cool. I want to save this so I could like kind of use it as a tool for myself. And I would actually kind of trickle in some of my own work in there. And that, those images have links to my website, for example, stuff like that. So I was using Pinterest when that first came out. That helped amass kind of a following. And I was also posting very consistently on Dribbble, where at that time too, people were still figuring out like, what is Dribbble? Like, I think during close to that time, there's the hire me button where all you really need to do is put your work out there and someone can literally just click a button to want to work with you. And so it's kind of like when these platforms were just coming out, we were there at the right time to take advantage of them. And we did. Thankfully, I'm very grateful we did do that.
Yeah, you hit Instagram obviously early too. Like Instagram changed my life, that 2013, 2014 range.
Totally. I think my wife for Instagram too, because she was the one that kind of suggested, hey, what if you posted your work on there? I think that'd be a good idea.
He was hesitant a little bit in the beginning, and I was
like, what if I want to post my bagel?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was also the same time there, posting very consistently on Instagram. This was when like a lot of like design kind of like accounts were popping up that were sharing other people's work, like creating all this traction. Not gaining followers just to have followers, but gaining, it just kind of naturally happened. And again, I think it was just at that time, it was like at the right place at the right time, consistently putting work out there. And so, those years putting all that work out there, it made me probably, I think a little bit easier to find for clients, for art directors, creative directors. I always tell people just starting out, put your work out there. Like, people need to find you so they can work with you. It's kind of a simple concept, but it's like diversify, put it out there as many different places as you can. And that was probably the start of, how we got a lot of work, I think.
Yeah, and also I want to add to that, something that I, am really inspired by that Steve does is that he really just whenever he has something creative, he is willing to put it out there. Like, he puts out a lot of work that he's just passionate about, that he does for fun. And I feel like a lot of those early projects were things he was doing on the side, not related to a client, but it was just purely because he was designing out of pure
passion.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I feel like that, people can see that when they're looking at his work.
Yeah. So, and in the beginning too, because I didn't have too many clients. And so, I was posting a lot of just my own personal stuff out there. And, I think a lot of clients, even art directors, they saw that work, and I think they got a good understanding of what I wanted to do, and they wanted to work with me and, use that work into their own projects or whatever.
So if someone was in the beginning stages, don't put the pressure on yourself to feel like you have to go from A to C and land in a paying job every time you post something. Like, have some fun.
Totally.
How do you tailor it to, like, because you're the saying, if you want to do freelance for a living, whatever, like, your Instagram is for you, your work is for you, but at the same time, your account is to bring value to someone else. You know, that's the world we live in, is bringing value. So, like, what's your strategy now for when you post? Like, what's your strategy for posting right now? I mean, you still have some like side hustle stuff we want to talk about later, but like, what's your strategy? What's your goal when you hit post? Who's it for? Who are you trying to target? Are you trying to just like bring value to a follower? Are you trying to attract a future client? Like, what's your thought? Or is it a big mix of both? Like, Danielle, with you too, like, what's your strategy to like be in his ear about?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. You know, I want to inspire people that follow me. Whether it's to create something on their own side hustle, or it's just like, they see something I post and it maybe pertains to a project they're working on that might inspire them to come to a better solution, or something like that. But at the same time, it is a great tool to use to attract business as well. So, I think I also cater it towards maybe possible clients or collaborations or whatever. So, but I really do just post work when I'm happy and passionate about it. So it's this big kind of like circle of just, I post work that I love, and I think it just automatically and naturally attracts all of those different things. So,
like, I think to sum it up, there's no one specific strategy. I feel like what Steve does is he just posts what he's feeling at the moment. Like, there's not like a targeted strategy.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's working for us, because I feel like he just posts what is on his mind, whatever he's passionate about in that moment. And Steve's got like a ton of stuff that like people haven't seen. So he can always just pull from that and post. Right? Like,
I think it's a little bit more authentic that way. I think people really see authenticity, especially when it comes to social media. Like, my goal is never just to say, I want 100,000 followers, just to say I have it and I feel special and, me. It's never been my goal. And I think
you're a humble ass dude. I just gotta say that. I've never ever felt an ego anytime I've been in your presence. Either of you guys.
Well, I appreciate that. It's like it isn't just like, it's not about me. Like, I just want to make stuff and inspire people. So that's never been a goal, just to make get a ton of followers and do whatever with them. So
yeah. Did you have something to add?
Yeah. Oh, I was going to add, the one thing that I have been trying to work on is like our hashtag. I feel like that's just something we want to figure out, is just like, how can we share our work with more people to hopefully, like Steve said, like, inspire, motivate people, provide inspiration for projects. So that's something that we're trying to figure out right now. We're playing around with.
Do you pay attention to analytics and like what time your audience is most active and what day? So you want to try and hit the sweet spot. I have 11 a.m. on every Wednesday to have a post. Do you even like have a content scheduling editorial calendar kind of thing, or do you just post when the muse hits?
I feel like Steve just knows when people like his work. He just he's really good about knowing like, hey, when I post at this time, I get more engagement. So like,
I think I'm just weird. Like, I'm very aware of very like small detail things, and this is just in life in general. So like when I go through my feed and I just see like a bunch of activity, like, I don't know, maybe in my mind I just remember that. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I think this is a good time to post. People are active, like, just share it, But like, I don't go through this completely structured like schedule where it's like, if I don't post at 10:35, my whole day is ruined or anything. Like, it's just like, it's a little natural.
Your gut and intuition tells you when to do your thing. So you're just going with the flow of life right now. So like,
yeah,
I was gonna say, one of the things I tried was like, I tried creating like a content calendar for him. And we realized that it didn't work for him. Like, it didn't feel natural. Like, it didn't allow him like the creative, like, I guess, timing that he needed to make it feel like authentic. So we just like got rid of that. And I was like, just post whenever you feel like you want to post. That's good. It's working for us. So there's no need to change it. That's
and another point. There's no one size fits all. What works for someone else may not work for you. It's constantly experiment. Go with your gut. You don't always have to listen to logic. What the Instagram app is telling you to post, because that's some bullshit.
Exactly.
That's a damn lie. No, these people aren't liking my photo at this time. I'll post it when my gut says so. So like early days then when you were attracting work, a lot of it probably came through Instagram then, right?
It was, actually,
and Dribble too.
A lot of it was really Dribble. And obviously, through Dribble, they were able to go to my website. But Dribble was a really good tool for people just to kind of get in, to see it, and then explore more through the website, and from there, email, work together, that kind of thing.
So before we dive into like your current process where people are just like, here, Steve and Danielle, take my money. We want to be retainer clients. Before that, what were some things that you learned that were do's and don'ts for like these young freelancers coming up, trying to figure it out? Like, what were some things that you did wrong by not having a contract, or when you were pitching and, oh man, I don't have my pop filter on, so those P's. When you were like pitching and presenting and pricing, what are some tips that you learned, so other people can maybe avoid those obstacles? And Danielle, what is some things that you saw him do? Again, like you added some value earlier. I would love to see from your outside perspective, what are some things to do and not do?
Okay. I think I can speak on this because
yes, definitely.
From an outside I saw where he was struggling or had some there could be things that could be improved that would make the process smoother. Is number one, develop your process, figure out what that looks like from when you get a client to when you are finished with a client, kind of like outlining what you want to happen even in a general sense.
I've learned if you don't have a process written down, you don't have a process.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. That's very important.
For sure. And then number two, just getting organized. I think that's something that we still are working on today. We're always trying to figure out how can we look at our systems, what we have, and get more organized and be more efficient in terms of naming files, finding files, where to put the files when you're done with them, little things like that. I think if he had started that process from the beginning, we would save a lot of time.
Yeah, because I was very unorganized when I first started. I had no organizational system, and I'm literally trying to organize my work from 8-9 years ago, and it's a nightmare. So it's I wish I would have had a better system, because it's funny, clients might come back to you and they say, hey, can you change this file from way back then? And it's oh gosh, I wish I would have known where I could just easily access that. So yes, definitely organization is key.
Perfect. So last we were talking about was pricing. What were some of the things that you had learned from that dilemma of stuff? Because that's really, really hard. Where sometimes were you pricing too low, you were asking for your quotes up front, or asking for a budget up front, which is super important. But what were some tips and tricks that you learned that help you get better at charging with confidence and raising your rates?
In regards to raising our rates, I feel that came with time and experience.
Yeah.
I feel in the beginning, when you're starting out, it's hard to justify that without having an experience. And Steve can speak to that because he was doing that on his own before me.
Yeah, right out of college, I was just taking anything and everything that I could, and definitely not charging enough. But at the time, it was a lot for me. And maybe deep down, I knew that I don't know, maybe I could have charged what I even am charging now, but it would have been very hard for me to prove that just through my work and experience. A lot of it was just learning from my mistakes, and it kind of took charging low to later on realize oh wow, I could have charged a lot more and really charged to what my value was. But as you get more experienced, I think in our situation, we were able to raise our rates. We had a better portfolio, a more diverse portfolio. We could prove our expertise and our experience. So we did have more value that we could bring to the client, and we were able to talk about that and prove it. So I think that's what helped us raise our rates over time.
Yeah, and more specifically, I feel it was helpful for us to talk to other designers and ask them what are you guys charging for this sort of thing, and kind of having an idea of what the market is charging, but also coming up with a price that we were happy with. Knowing we recorded, we used time tracking software to kind of figure out how many hours does it typically take Steve to put together a mood board, how much time does he need to do research, knowing how much we needed to bring home at the end of the month. kind of like having that number in the back of our mind, but also using like value-based pricing for projects, like
Definitely.
for logo projects.
Yeah, another thing too, I think we can even elaborate more on this is, it's not always like a one size fits all type thing. If we're really passionate about a project, but the budget might not be there, I mean, we might take that on even though it's a lower budget. So it's like we really look at who the people are we're working with, and then the project itself, and then kind of decide like how much we want to take it on, or how much can they even afford and take it on that way. So
yeah, but we also have, like I said, I think if we were to sum up our pricing strategy, it'd be like using our happy price. What is the price that we feel like is fair, but also something that we would be happy at the end of the day after the project was said and done, we'd be happy we did it for.
Okay, that's good.
Specific, no like formula. We have a general idea of what our minimum is, and then we know what price we're happy with, and we know what price we're really happy with.
Perfect. And once the demand's there, that's when you can raise your rates.
Yes, exactly, definitely.
So when did the shift happen to where you're not worried about attracting clients? It's retainer. Like, what's the current model look like now before we pivot on to like a new subject?
Yeah, like I think so. We don't actually have retainer agreements with our clients. It's more of, we've tried that model and we found that it's so dependent on what the deliverables are. So we get really, really clear on what the specific deliverables are, because we found if there's like any sort of ambiguity, it's really hard. It gets hard to price like in the future. Definitely. So we, for example, like our like brand identity packages, which is what most of the work we do, developing the visual identity, the logo, the color palette, the typography, font choices, and the brand guide, that is very like, that can range from 5 to 25,000, depending.
Yeah, these were what I'm talking about. Give us the numbers.
Yeah. So ideally, our average project is going to be between 10 to 25,000, like on average. So anything more than that is great, right? But that's our average that we try. And we know that if we're taking a project on for $5,000, that's like a passion. That's something we're really excited about. Yep. That, we're really clear on the deliverables. There's no question about like revisions. Like the client is fully trusting us to do what we need to do, and we're giving them the solution. There's not a ton of back and forth.
Yeah.
This is it. This is what you'll get. Yes or no kind of thing.
Exactly.
And you built the pedigree that, there you go. So like, how many projects are you able to take on at a time?
Oh, well, it varies on how busy we want to be. I think now we take on less just because, we just had our baby.
And I want to get into this.
Yeah. But in the beginning,
I remember taking on 6-7 projects at a time.
Well, he had like a full-time job. It was insane.
I've been there. I get it, dude. You probably still got bags and backaches from those days, just like I do.
Yeah, it's definitely internal as well, probably emotionally as well.
You and me aged like 10 years early for doing that stuff.
Yeah, you have no idea. Well, actually, you do have a good idea.
Yeah. You get it.
Yes, yeah. But you know what? It was worth it in the end. We knew like that hard work would pay off, and it really did. So. Yeah,
and I think back then we were of that mindset. Like we were just starting out. All we knew was the hustle. Like we knew we had these goals, and we knew that we had to work hard to get there. And that was like our sole focus. Granted, like I feel like there was a point where I wish we would have like taken some breaks.
Pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like we're really grateful for like what we went through in order to get to where we are now.
Yes.
I feel like you got to say yes a lot in order to get to the point where you can say no. You got to drive yourself to the point of exhaustion, because you bust your ass to realize how important rest is, how important to hit the brakes. There's hustle, and then there's smart hustle. And I think that's what you two have tapped into. And I think since my little pizza roll was born, I started realizing the value of smart hustle too, and saying no to things that don't matter. And like, how do you guys make this work then? What are the boundaries? Because it's probably not easy. It's great probably working with each other, but at the same time, it's probably difficult. So what are the boundaries you have to set? So when you're at dinner time with your little baby and you don't want to talk about work, You know, do you guys have some parameters? Because eventually, like, a lot of us want to work with our spouses. Maybe it's not a good fit. Maybe it is a good fit. But like, what are some tips that you guys implement to keep from going insane?
Yeah, I think when it comes to working together as like husband and wife, but like as business partners, we have to just make like open communication is key. Making sure we're on the same page and we separate like work and life. And when, you know, if we've had like a hard day of work with like a, you know, a client or something, we always just like leave it when we're with our daughter. So like around 4 o'clock is typically when we're, you know, we're tired, we're ready to be done. 4 to 7, that time is like family time. We're kind of like, we always leave that as like flex time where we're playing with our daughter, we're fully present, we're doing dinner, getting her ready for bed, and that's it. Like we're not thinking about it. We're just like focused on that. And being present and being intentional is like, has been really important for us.
Yeah, and also Danielle's been really good about being very organized with your schedule and planning, you know, daily what the tasks are, and that's work and also just life stuff. And so, you know, if you can even plan in your whole week, or at least most of it as much as you can kind of see, here's what I need to do, here's what Danielle's doing, here's what I'm doing, so we can kind of get a sense of like what our days gonna look like. So then, you know, if chaos comes up, we're not so flustered and everything falls apart.
Schedule your success and then schedule life in it. Like some people think it's like what you schedule, like you make margin for family stuff. I'm like,
oh yeah,
that's how I make sure I'm present. I am where my feet are. You know, I'm in the moment, not dwelling on that project that I could have put another hour into. So like, I think that's so cool to hear from you guys.
Yeah, and I was that person. I'd never used a calendar. I was like, that's stupid. Like, I'm just gonna go with what I want to do, and like everything will work out. And I found myself over and over, like not getting stuff done, getting stressed, like
not sure what you're working on when you wake up in the morning. What you're winging it.
Exactly. I'm sitting at my computer like, this is cool. Like I should be working, but what am I supposed to work on? And so, you know, Danielle being the organization guru she is, like she seriously taught me like how much more productive you can be if you just schedule your freaking day. So
yeah, we use shared Google calendars. We have multiple calendars. We have like our family calendar, we have our work calendar, and it took a little bit of experimenting to see what would be useful for Steve, what he could use. We tried a couple of different things. We tried like the paper planner out, that didn't work for him. So now Google Calendar is where like our life is.
It's all on there.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay, so we must be doing something right if we like do what you guys do, and I'm planning my day and structure. That makes me feel like, I have what it takes.
Yeah, for sure.
It works.
Okay, so the listeners here are all about, majority of people are side hustlers. They're trying to build out something outside their day job. You guys basically have your day job right now, working together, but you also have side hustles outside of a kid. You know, let's speak to some side hustles because we got a fellow coach on the call. And you're into furniture and stuff now, Steve, I hear through the grapevine. Like, I would love to hear, one, what are your side hustles? Two, why do you pursue them? And why do they recharge you or like provide more impact to your life? And then how do you work around this, you know, with the business and being parents? You know, I think that's so important and such a cool angle. I've never got to like ask, how do you side hustle outside of your guys' full-time freelance job? Like, that's so cool to get to ask that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so my side hustle, I guess, is I just launched my own productivity coaching program for busy women like myself. And I learned a couple of things, you know, being a new mom, being a new working mom. And so I realized that I have a passion for helping people like develop systems similar to what I've done with Steve Wolf Designs that I can apply to so many other people that I know are struggling with kind of dealing with all, like juggling all the things. And so my focus right now is my side hustle is helping busy women kind of like overwhelm and tame their to-do lists and coaching them through that entire process. And Steve's is
I mean, what's cool too is our side hustle back in the day is now our full-time job, and now we have another side hustle that's kind of
so dope.
But so currently I am dabbling into the world of furniture design. A friend of mine from actually back home in Kearney, Nebraska, who's in the furniture world, we kind of clicked up and got together, and we wanted to combine our strengths of, you know, traditional furniture design and graphic design, and what does that look like in furniture. So it's kind of been cool just doing something completely different, and learning that. I think it's exciting for me. It still is in, design in some sense, but it's just in a completely different world.
Different outlet, yeah.
It is, yeah. And, it's kind of cool to just mess with something like that, explore it. And so, more of that to come. We're just kind of starting out with that, but hopefully get to share some stuff soon, actually.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and I've also been doing a thing weekly called Sunday Shapes. And this is something where it's like no judgment, no rules, no limits, of just stuff that I want to get out creatively through these shapes, these abstract shapes. And I've always kind of been a fine artist at heart as well. And so just kind of getting that out there through just a piece of art, and really challenging myself to stay on top of it weekly, and just to see like how that evolves, and what that could turn into like over the course of a year.
So how do you guys schedule time to play or do your side hustles? How do you schedule this? How do you fit it in?
So the first thing that actually we schedule when we're planning our week is alone time. Like that is like the first thing that we do over anything, is we make sure that each of us has time each week to like either work on their side hustle or really just like take care of ourselves. So I find that when we prioritize taking care of ourselves, like as a person, then it's easier to kind of find time to pursue these like side hustles and to do work. So we'll each like carve out a day, or we'll alternate days where we know each of us is going to get like at least an hour alone, or prioritize first, like
going to the gym, like in the morning, like Danielle goes Tuesday, I go Wednesday, Danielle goes Thursday, like stuff like that too.
And then similar to that, we prioritize when we're going to work on our side hustle. Like for me, like I feel like Mondays and Fridays, those are like the days where I feel like, or I'm taking like a dance class, and that's when I'm inspired. So figuring out what are the days that we're likely to have the time to kind of be creative, or feel like it's more than scheduling time, it's more finding the energy, figuring out when we're energized enough to like create something.
Yeah, like for me, like when the kid goes to sleep, we know from 7 o'clock till however late you can stay up, that's uninterrupted work time that we do have as well. Obviously, we don't try to work every night, but a lot of the times, I know for me, I could get something done maybe if I stayed up an hour later just for myself, that I know that I wouldn't be interrupted, and I can kind of take advantage of that time to squeeze that in. So
that's awesome.
One of the things I was going to add is something that actually really helps us carve out time too, is like we ask each other for like support and help. Like I feel like we wouldn't be able to pursue these side hustles without really like openly communicating like what we want to accomplish each week. We try to like, tell each other, what do we want to accomplish? Okay, when are we going to have time to do that? When can you like watch Alexandra? And like kind of really just communicating with each other.
Yep.
Yeah, communication is by far the core. You guys are like in sync duo, but it's like a process over time for sure.
It took us a long time to get to where we are. I mean,
we're still figuring it out.
We're still figuring it out, but if you're really trying and actively trying to get better at it, good things come, and you do get better at it. So
yeah, I think just being intentional and being present with whatever you're doing.
Love it. What's your fuel? Why do you do what you do? I've never asked this question before, but it's something that's been challenging me a lot lately and making me like internalize and reflect. I'm like, okay, shit, what was it? Before it used to be like the likes and to prove people wrong that I do have what it takes. Then it was serving people. It still is, but now it's like I want to leave a legacy. I want to change my family tree. That's why I want to get out of debt. That's why I want to build something. That's why I put out videos, even though I hate being on camera, so my son can watch me one day if something happens to me. My fuel has constantly changed. So like, what is your fuel right now? Why do you do what you do? What gets you out of bed? What gets you excited to make shit happen each day?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, a lot of what you said, I think one of them is definitely, now that we have our daughter, we really want to be role models for her. I feel like that's what makes us like want to continue to work hard. We want to show her, that we can do whatever we want to do. Like, we have so many big dreams and goals. One of them being just having complete freedom to do whatever it is we want, whatever we're passionate about. But it's also about serving people too, like, and leaving a legacy. I love that. But mainly, like, right now, if I were to say, like, what is driving us is really being a role model for our daughter.
Definitely.
And yeah, freedom and finding time to do things that fulfill us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty spot on.
Sums it up, huh? Let the
pretty
extrovert talk, huh?
yeah. I mean, like, there's some small details. Like, for me, like, I mean, obviously, I just like to make things too. You know, like, even if I'm with a piece of paper, I'm like, find myself drawing or doodling or whatever it is. Like, it's almost like this urge that I just constantly have to just get something out and make, like, get something out of me.
Yeah.
I think that's just like a natural thing within me that I think I'll continue to do until I die. But yeah, I think maybe that's something as well too. But everything that Danielle said too.
I would agree, dude. We were all born to create, no matter what outlet it is. I'm the same. Like, if I'm in a meeting at work, I find myself like scribbling notes or doing like hand lettering compositions of whatever the dumb topic we are talking about, the corporate related and ROIs and all this other jargon. And yeah, and I like start hand lettering. I just can't shut it off. But
Exactly.
yeah, I'm so aligned with that. I think that's incredible. And I want to challenge people right now to like find your fuel, because we all, if you don't have a purpose, if you're not excited to like get up for something each day, or if you don't have like ideas keeping you up at night, like, you gotta fix it. There's no reason to be going through a mundane routine of day in, day out of just like being lost in a circle. I've been there for too long, and it's so much better not having that. So find your fuel. You know, this show is fuel for your mind and creative grind. So like, this is a question I want to start asking. You're the first people. Before we go to rapid fire, what's one piece of advice you give to yourself when you were just starting off? You know, what's that one piece of advice you were struggling to get the courage to maybe share your art or raise your prices or take on this new coaching route or becoming a mom? Like, what was the advice that you needed to hear?
I would say most definitely don't compare, don't look at what anyone else is doing, do you. Focus on what you want to do, you know, just don't worry about what anyone else is doing.
Yeah, that's so funny. I was just gonna say, be yourself. Like, you know, like, really digging deep and like find what you want in your life and find a way to make it happen. Like, you know, it might take some experimenting, making mistakes. I think that's good to do that and not to be afraid to do that. Like, don't be afraid to take some risks. But if you have a goal, like, and you're consistently working hard to get it, like, good things will come from that. So like, really be yourself and find a goal to get what you want in this life. So
Sure. Cast the vision of what you want and make a plan to go and get it. Chase what you want.
Definitely.
Love it. Okay, let's jump into rapid fire. I got a couple listener questions for you guys, but let's switch the flow. I've kind of like made it super serious for a second. If you're on death row, what would your last slice of pizza be?
Oh, all meat.
All
Like,
meat.
all meat.
Yeah, I love pepperoni. I gotta go with the classic.
Saying anywhere specific? I'm actually gonna be in Austin for Crop 2020. Just a shout out. I'll be speaking at Crop 2020. So I'll be in Austin. Anywhere specific? I think I went to that via 319.
Via 313.
313. That's it. Yep.
That's awesome. Home slice is good. I mean, God, there's so many good pizza places here. Yeah, but he is definitely that's our favorite.
Will you take me and Emily out to get pizza when we come and visit? Because we'll be visiting Georgetown too, so that's where her family's at.
Yeah. We will take you out for pizza, definitely.
Yeah. All right. If you could have lunch with one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Dead or alive? That's a good question.
Okay, I would have lunch with Rachel Hollis.
Okay, girl, wash your face. Girl, stop apologizing.
Mine would be Michelangelo, just because I looked up to him so much just through art growing up. Like, that guy killed it. He was crushing the art. So yeah.
I got a fat ass book of all of his works like right there that Emily got me at a flea market.
Nice.
Yeah, the Sistine Chapel, like, I've never seen anything like that. It made me feel so small with my work.
When I saw that, I got emotional. So
no photo. Were they yelling at you? Don't take a photo. Yep. All right. here's a question. This one is from Charlie Jeffrey in the Facebook group. I think I'm a little scared of being super minimalist, but can really appreciate it. So, Steve, how did you get into this kind of minimal style, and what do you enjoy so much about it?
You know, funny thing, it took me a while to get to that style, and it took me a while to figure out that that's the style that I wanted to do. And so I think just through a lot of experimentation, through like just making things in style. Like for example, when I first started out, I was actually doing like a lot of lettering, like hand drawn lettering. This was like maybe 10 years ago. I was doing hand drawn illustration work, and you know, with clients even. And I think just like learning more about graphic design, learning more like what I was good at. I think as my tastes changed throughout the years, I just think that I felt like I was always kind of gravitating towards more simple stuff. Like this is through art, this is through design, just everything in life in general. Really just following kind of like my gut. And when I did that, the work that I put out in this more like simple, minimal style, it was a lot more natural for me. I was making better work. I was attracting more clients this way. So I think it was just like going through this journey of experimenting, finding out like what worked best for me. And I think this is what worked best for me. So
And doing more of what works that lights you up.
yeah, exactly. Definitely.
Okay, this one comes from Nancy Lou, and then I'm gonna rephrase it as well so I can ask Danielle, because I'm really, really curious. And I want to give a hard plug at the end to like get more eyes on your coaching program, because I think it's incredible what you're doing, and it's very niche or niche, whatever. Midwest, we say niche. So I know when I hear people say niche, I'm like, what?
I know, right?
What?
It's like so confusing.
But then everybody comes on here and says niche, and I'm like, so I guess I gotta say niche now. I just say both every time so I can hit both audiences. So let's start off phrasing it how Nancy says it. Steve, what is your dream client product that you would like to do a logo design for? And then I'm gonna rephrase it. I'm gonna be like, Danielle, who is your dream woman and what she do that you would love to help her get the transformation that she wanted? All right, so let's start off with you, Steve.
A dream product to do a logo for.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. Um, that's a really good question. Let me think.
Dream out loud, man.
What haven't I done? That would be cool. Trying to
Go
think.
for Nike. Do like a Nike
You know,
thing.
I always yes. So ever since I can remember, I don't know why, I've always wanted to do something with Nike. I've never worked with Nike. And I love sports, so like obviously those two go hand in hand. But like it could be like anything with the NFL would be awesome. I love me some football.
Dude, you would crush it.
So that'd be awesome.
Who's your squad?
Oh, definitely the Chiefs. Which
Chiefs.
is a great.
Oh, that's real convenient. I'm just kidding, man.
Growing up in Nebraska, our closest teams were the Chiefs or the Broncos. So my family was always a Chiefs fan. So that's what I was.
I get it, man.
It's our time to be a Chiefs fan. So.
Hey, you're putting it into the universe, man. Put it into the universe.
That's
All right,
right.
Danielle, who would be like your ideal woman that you know you could provide value for?
Yeah, it would be any busy woman, any woman that finds herself constantly overwhelmed, running in circles, trying to figure out how to, somebody that's like productive, that's finds it hard to kind of relax and rest, that is needing help to kind of redefine what it means to be productive, especially like in a busy season of life, whether it's motherhood, whether it's somebody with a full-time job and trying to figure out how to grow their side hustle. So it's really anyone that wants to gain some clarity, find their unique balance, and create more joy in their life.
So it's not necessarily someone who's wanting to do a side hustle or anything. It's just someone who wants to just optimize their life.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody that just wants some more clarity and wants to create more joy. Yeah.
Yeah, because productivity is a high. Like I'm a task list. Let me check that off the list real quick. I get high off that, indeed, and I will chase that high. All right. Last two quick questions. What the hell do you two do for fun?
What do we do for fun? We love to travel.
Yeah.
We always try to make it a point to like really get out and go somewhere. And we love traveling, especially to different countries. We love to choose one like specific place, like a city, and stay there for a couple weeks. and really like immerse ourselves in like the city and the culture there. Really get a sense of like what it's like to be there. So we definitely love traveling. But
Can I highly recommend Cedar Falls, Iowa?
yes. Never been there.
You're not missing much, just us. What about you, Danielle? You dance too. I know that. People may not know that.
He's a good dancer.
Anything that moves my body. So like hitting up dance classes, doesn't matter what kind, just somewhere where I can just get everything and move my body.
Like jazzercise.
There you go.
Fingers. All right, that's dope. Okay, last question. Where can people go to follow you online and support you? And I want both of your handles.
Yeah, well, you can find me. Our design website is stevewolf.co. Steve Wolf Designs hashtag like on Instagram. That's probably it to find us. Instagram and website is where you can find our design stuff. So
yeah, and you can find me at Balance Fulfilled on Instagram, and my website is balancefulfilled.com. Check me out.
What can people expect on your Instagram?
Yeah, people can expect some weekly tips on planning, prioritizing, and also how to like add more fun into your life, to create energy, to do all the things that you're juggling and balancing.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. You two are seriously a power couple, and I'm glad I got to have both of you on to show, the brains behind the business and the creation station, everything colliding together is such a perfect balance. And I think I think you just dropped a ton of value on people, and I'm so grateful to have you on today.
Oh, thanks for having us, Scotty. Seriously.
Yeah, this was awesome. Well, we'll be in touch. I can't wait to drop this one. I know it's going to make an impact on people. So enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy that little baby.
Yes,
not so little anymore. You got a 1-year-old.
Oh gosh, it's crazy.
Same, but still babies to us. All right, guys, we'll be in touch.
Awesome. Thanks, Scotty.
Right. Peace.
Thanks again for listening. It'd be awesome if you took the time to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and let the comment below so we can connect. Again, if you want to catch a shout out as a future listener of the week, make sure you subscribe to the show on iTunes and give it a rating and review.